you have to get used to it. So for me also, it was a learning experience, and I was also preparing for uh, NPTEL course. I was offering an NPTEL course. I have to do video recording. So I used to enjoy teaching in any type of classroom. But when I started doing online teaching or recording online, I was very blank. You know, and people, my students consider me as a very interactive teacher. But when I started teaching in front of a camera, I don't know whether students are listening to me, whether they are there, or am I talking to someone or I am talking to the camera. I didn't know. It's very difficult for me to understand the feedback of the students in terms of whether they understand it, what are their opinions and things like that. So I used to have my classes usually in questioning mode. I will ask a lot of questions based on the kind of feedback people give, the answers students give. I used to streamline my teaching. But after this COVID experience, teaching online, all these things are missing. If I prepare a lecture for 45 minutes, I completed it in like 10 or 15 minutes in online media because there is no interaction in the classroom. Okay, so these are some of the problems I've encountered, but slowly I've started understanding how to master this online teaching. What I'm trying to say is, even for someone who's very fond of or interested in teaching online is a very different ball game. It's not same as teaching in a classroom. Okay? So I have prepared a PPT which I'm going to talk about. It's for around half an hour. So after that, probably we can have a question and answer session. You can ask questions, you can share your experiences. So in this particular presentation, what I'm going to talk about is 3 important barriers we might encounter in online teaching and how to overcome them. So I'll share my screen now. Okay. Dr. Kokilamani, this slide is visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So I have titled this presentation as Teaching Online, Challenges and Solutions. I have also presented this in another teacher 2 months back in Chennai through online media. So this is the second time I'm doing it. Okay. So I think I've improved in presenting the same content because I'm going to the second time. I request participants to mute their mics, please. Okay. This is going to be the outline of my presentation today. So I'm going to talk about why it is important for us to equip ourselves to teaching online media, because we think after this COVID it's going to go away. We think all these online teaching is for 6 months or maximum 1 year, isn't it? But I'm saying it's not going to be the case. More and more instances will occur in terms of teaching online and the online classes. I think somebody is not muting their mic. I request them to mute the mic, please. Somebody is not muting the mic. I request them to mute the mic. Or the administrator, if she can mute others' mic and give me administrative rights, then it is possible to mute others. Okay. So the first point here I'm trying to raise is, this is not going to be a one-time phenomena. Teaching online is going to become more and more common and popular. Okay. So it's important for preparing ourselves to teaching online. So I'm going to bring an argument, build a case for why it is important to learn how to be a efficient teacher through online media. As I said earlier, there are 3 areas which are very important to master teaching online. So I'm going to discuss about these 3 dimensions, and also at the end we will have question and answer session. Okay. Like I said earlier, it's not going to be a one-time phenomenon. Things are going to be like this. why or what basis I'm saying this is, if you can read the slide, you will understand. In fact, this is one slide I used to show in FDPs, faculty development programs, for the past 5 years. This particular slide I used to show for the past 5 years, where I used to argue, based on my experiences and my own understanding of technological changes, that at some point, AI or artificial intelligence will take over all the professions, including teaching professions. I used to ask faculty development program participants that, will teachers be replaced by AI? Okay. Many of them, out of passion, they'll say, no, teacher profession cannot be taken over by artificial intelligence or computers. But my argument is, if you continue doing what we are doing now, which is going to the classroom, lecturing, setting up an exam, correcting papers, giving results. So this is what we are doing as teachers. If this is the case, most of it can be automated, or most of it can be made self-learning mode. For example, there are many universities which offer online programs where students can learn on their own. Many of these NPTEL Swayam programs, or there are Coursera and all those things. Most of it is based on self-learning. Somebody has made a lecture, and that lecture you can watch, and what are the reading materials you can search in the internet and you can learn. So if that is the case, at some point we don't need teachers, especially this COVID situation has forced us to do that. Otherwise, we would be thinking that future is somewhere after 50 years. But that 50 years is now. Okay, that has come to us now. It may not be 50 years, it may be in another 10 years, most of the learning will be automated, or it will become self-learning. Okay, so we have to understand how we are going to design our career as teachers if you want to survive in this teaching. Because as teachers, I don't know what are the other things we can do. We are trained as teachers, and most of us, teaching is our passion. Maybe in another 5-10 years, if everything becomes online and most of it becomes self-learning, what will happen to us? So we have to be prepared for handling this situation. So for that, we need to understand how to master online teaching. Okay. Why there is an increasing need for online courses? If you see, even the best of the institutes in the world, they have online courses. You have Harvard self-learning courses on management. IITs, they have put up all their material free of cost, their lecture material through Swayam portal. So there is an increasing material which is available online for self-learning. Okay. And more people are interested in learning through this kind of a medium, whether it is COVID or not. There are more and more people who are preferring to learn through online medium. Why it is so? Because we are in a generation where that particular generation, compared to us who are like 90 kids, in Facebook we see all these 90 kids jokes, isn't it? We are like 90 kids or 80 kids. But many of these students we teach now, or most of them, are 2000 born, or even after that. If you're an engineering college teacher, the new fresher will be like 2005 born or 2002 born. Okay, not 2005, 2000 born. Okay, so many of these kids are born with a certain advantage, which is their familiarity with digital media. When I say digital media, computers, internet, smartphones, tablets. So, but again, I cannot generalize it to all the population, because India, being a country which is predominantly rural based, still, access to internet and access to computers are a rare thing in certain parts of the country. But again, there are more and more, internet penetration which is happening in rural areas as well. For example, there is one statistic which says people who access internet through computers is much less than people who access internet through mobile phones. If you see, there are more number of mobile phones in India than toilets in India. Okay, so even though we are a country which is developing, the younger generation have increasing access to all these internet and online sources. So if you see these kind of students who are born in a particular generation, they are called digital natives because they belong to this digital era. Okay? So why they belong to a digital era? Because they are born in this particular generation. The typical characteristics of people of this particular era is, just a minute, I've got a call. I'm sorry, I've got an important call. I'll just pause it for a while and then. Okay, sorry about this. Okay, so I was talking about the digital natives. So the characteristics of digital natives is, if you see one of those points, they may benefit from online educational games, which means they are very familiar with online games. There are also concepts related to this in terms of teaching, which is called gamification. Many of you would have, if you're in computer science area, you would have heard of gamification. Gamification means designing a course using a lot of video games or digital games, learning through digital games. And many of them have access to internet. Many of them, are very good in multitasking. Many of them have less interest in, reading, but they may read online. They may not read books in terms of physical books. They read online material. Okay. So one important change many scientists are propagating is among this generation of learners is their attention span has come down. They can do many things at the same time, but they cannot do one thing for the long period of time. They are very good in, sending message, listening to music, watching TV, everything at one time. But they cannot do the same thing over a period of time. They cannot, watch one movie for 3 hours. They can watch. They are good in watching short movies. If you see, that is why YouTube channels have become more popular, because YouTube channels you get videos for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Now with all these TikTok and all, the entire entertainment material is for like 1 minute. Okay, so their attention span has come down. The effect of it for teachers is you need to cater to these learners in their own way, because otherwise you will be talking to them in a very new or different language. Okay. In fact, that is why many of these online webinars or online seminars, they are designed for 20 minutes. If you are teaching people through online medium, you cannot go beyond half an hour. Okay, which is true for classroom teaching also, but in most cases, our classroom teaching is for 45 minutes. Yeah. And the difference between digital natives, who are students of the new generation, versus digital immigrants. Our generation are called digital immigrants. Digital immigrants means we have moved from one period in history or digital history to the new digital scenario. Which means for many of us, we would have seen many models of mobile phones. Many of us, even till 20 years old, may not even had a own mobile phone. I got my first mobile phone when I was like 27. Okay, and my smartphone happened during my 35 years. So, we don't have access to, we moved from one technology to another technology. So we are immigrants. But the current generation, they started with smartphones. For example, my child who is 3 years old is very good in navigating a smartphone compared to my 70-year-old parent. Okay, a 3-year-old, even before she started talking, she knows how to scroll a smartphone. She knows what to do so that the next screen will come. But my parent, who is 75 years old, every time I have to tell her how to do something in a smartphone, how to cut a call or pick up a call. My 3-year-old daughter knows how to pick up a call, even without someone teaching her. Okay, why? Because it is part of their day-to-day habit. It is in their DNA, to say it in easy words. Okay, so we need to adapt to their, so they will not adapt to our way of teaching. We have to adapt to their way of learning. Okay, just look at this cartoon strip. Like I said earlier, for us to learn a new technology is very, very difficult, but the younger generation, they are very good in learning new technology. Like I said earlier, this online classes, my 5-year-old son also undergoes online classes. The first thing he, as a student, he is, undergoing online classes. So he knows how to mute, the web thing. So now I have to every time tell you, please mute, please mute. But the first thing he does when he enters his online classes to mute the mic. Okay, so they know what to do. It comes to them naturally. Okay, so we need to upgrade ourselves. So we need to understand there should be a major change in the way we look learning. So if everything can be learned through self-learning, which means, see, all the material is available online now. If you have a course structure, if you have a course curriculum, you can get all the material for the curriculum on your own. Only thing is they won't get a certificate. Even now, even that is available. If you do a Coursera course, which is, maybe for 1,500 rupees on business models, or, strategic HRM, or statistics in social sciences, you can do a course, online course, and get a certificate. Write the exam online, get a certificate. Okay? So what is the role of a teacher? So the role of the teacher is not just giving information, but helping people where to search or what to search. Okay, so we cannot give them just the information. So information they will get, but we need to tell them how to search and what to search. And even more important thing is, online media or digital media, there is like overflowing information. You get, just give one keyword, you get like tens and thousands of web pages. So you should know what is the right information. It's not like whatever you see in the internet is the authentic information. So as teachers, our role is to guide people where to search and what to search. So our role, from a lecturer, it becomes a mentor or a coach kind of a role. That's why I put this picture of, swimming coach. Another important thing about changing role of a teacher is, we should understand in a classroom dynamics. Typically, it is seen as teacher is the one who's giving information or giving knowledge. All the others are receiving knowledge or learning from the teacher. But now the shift is, in a classroom, we all are co-learners, which means we should learn from each other. Even the teacher should learn from the student, because we all have information. Only thing is, we know how to fix the information in a certain way and make sense out of it. Maybe the students will know in a better way how to make sense out of all the information. So we should be willing to learn from students as well. Okay, so now I'm getting into the actual content, which is how to be, how to be an efficient teacher through online media. So till now I've set a base for you to understand why it is important to master this online teaching, because this is going to be the future. It's not just going to end after COVID. Okay, it's going to continue even after that. So now I'm going to talk about how to master the media, which is how to, like I said, there are 3 challenges. First challenge is the digital media we use, the computer we use, the internet, or the kind of technology we use for teaching. So what to do to make better use of this? The first thing in mastering the media is choosing the right media. When I say right media, there are multiple technologies available for online teaching. There are even in this online meeting rooms, we have Google Meet, we have Zoom, we have WebEx based applications, we have Microsoft Teams. There are multiple applications available. Apart from this, there are other online media platforms, like there are this classroom management apps. We have, you can do it via WhatsApp also. You can teach students via WhatsApp also. Just send a forward with all the reading material. You can form a group of WhatsApp group, and you can do that also. Okay. So there are multiple medias available. Or just send email to everyone. Just send an email with material tell them to read, get back with their assignments or 2-page write-up. So anything is possible. So the possibilities of using a tool is like limitless. There are multiple tools available. So how to choose the right tool? So one thing we should understand is there is nothing like a right tool. It's not like Google Meet is the best tool or Zoom is the best tool or using video conferencing is the best tool. In fact, every tool has its own advantage. So what research in this area says is there are different kinds of tools and each of these tools vary in terms of richness, which means richness means if a particular media helps us give immediate feedback, if it facilitates face-to-face communication, if it facilitates multiple usage of communication modes. For example, Google Meet, I can see what the other audiences are doing. They can also look at me. Okay, and two, I can type in text also in Google Meet. I can also talk. I can also see. So multiple ways of communication modes are possible. Okay, and I can also sense the other person is there in the other side, and immediately I get feedback. So this is a rich media. Lean media is email. You send an email. You don't know if the other person has read it. You don't know when they will reply it. You don't know what they think about or what they feel about what I have mentioned in the email. I don't get feedback. Okay, so that is lean media. Typically, what research says is rich media is better for social communication. If you want to communicate in a personal level, rich media like video conferencing. This is certainly true. Okay, so from my own experiences, I've seen combination of media is more useful. Combination of see, the whole purpose of using a rich media is creating a social presence. Social presence means I need to make my students feel I am there as a teacher in the classroom. Okay, through online presence. Similarly, I need to know others are there, others are listening to me and what they are feeling. So through video conferencing, I can see whether they are sitting in their chair, desk, or whether they are lying down and listening, or they are in the bathroom and listening. Through video conferencing, I can see that. But that itself is not sufficient to create social presence. So even in a lean media like texting or email, you can make people feel that you are there. Your presence can be, you can assert your presence. How do you do that? In fact, you should know how to use it creatively. Things like, you can paste emojis, you can, underline certain things saying that this is what I insist, this is more important. You can have some level of informal communication in lean media. Even in email, you can have, social communication. So it is possible, but the problem with many of these online tools is one, cost of the tools. Some of these, only now this Google Meet is free of cost. Earlier it used to be like, only few institutions can use. And things like Zoom and all, after half an hour it will log out of the meeting. Okay, so many of these tools are costly, but if you know how to use them, then you can get the cheaper version or free version of it. For example, Google Meet, you get it is a free version. Okay, but the problem is Google Meet is I cannot mute all of you. I don't have control over what others do. But if I use Zoom, I can decide, whether to mute everyone, or if somebody is not, not interested in the class, I can log them off and all those things. I can tell them get out of the class in Zoom. But in Google Meet, I cannot tell you, if you're not listening, I cannot tell you go out of my class. Okay. Another problem is bandwidth. We have to understand that in India, bandwidth is an important issue. We are still, even though we are called 4G, not everybody has access to good internet. Forget about internet. Many of us have problems with power connection also. Suddenly, middle of the meeting, power cut may happen. Okay, so we need to be creative enough to use many media. For example, in a classroom, when online classes happen, usually what I do is I take the phone number of all the students. So I also have a WhatsApp group. So if there's a power cut and there is no internet in laptop, I use my mobile phone to communicate via WhatsApp, because my phone will have 4G. I can communicate via WhatsApp, or I can call them and tell them, see, there's a power cut. I will resume in some time and all those things. So we should know how to use many media at the same time. sometimes what can happen is bandwidth might be low. So if you keep the video on, voice may not be audible, or there'll be break in the voice, and you cannot share PPT and all properly if you keep the video or audio on. So what I used to do, I used to make a conference call with mobile phone with 10 students, or use WhatsApp to connect some 5-10 students, and audio call, and I will use internet to have a Zoom meeting or Google Meet meeting. So you can use multiple media at the same time. Okay. So this is about managing the media. The second important aspect of online teaching is classroom dynamics. So like I said earlier, lecturing method will not work in online media, because you cannot bring in everybody's attention in an online media. So what we have to do is, lectures should be minimal. Lectures should be only interactive in nature. So whenever you meet your students online, try to reduce one-way talking. You make it as a interactive session, but you need to do lecture. So what will you do? One thing we can do is self-learning. Part of it can be lectures, and most of it can be sending material through other sources. You just tell them, read this and come. Make them write a short write-up on whatever they have read. So lecture component should become minimal, and self-learning should become more. But again, the problem is our curriculum itself is based on lecture based. We strongly rely on lectures. So what to do about it? So that is where you need to use other sources like NPTEL video, YouTube video. Instead of you lecturing, give them the link for lecture. Many of these courses are available online from very good institutes. So you can tell students, watch this video lecture, come back, read this material, you come back, we will discuss. Okay. And also connecting students out of the classroom. One thing I miss about going to a class and teaching is, we have conversations about other things also outside the class. We meet students in the cafeteria, you meet students on the corridor, you talk to them. That conversation is lost. So how to overcome that? One way we can do it is create a social media group. Earlier we used to think you cannot bring smartphone inside the classroom, but now classroom has gone to smartphone. So we should also know social media is a powerful tool to create teacher-student interaction. You can create a Google, Facebook group where you can interact informally with the class. You can also use other audio video aids. Like I said, there are videos available. You can use games. Many of these things, you get online games where you can teach mathematics or you can teach science through games. But you need to know where they are available. As a teacher, you should search. Okay? And also there are many classroom management applications. Especially there is this thing called Google Classroom, which I use, which is a freeware. You can, I don't know how many of you use it. It's a very simple tool. You can upload assignments. You can conduct examinations. In fact, if you have conducting objective type examination, it will correct the paper also. Many things are possible through Google Classroom. So we need to know how to use different tools at the same time, including social media tools. Okay. Another important challenge as teachers we face is working from home. Okay. So I can very well say you master the media, you know how to interact with, you learn how to interact with students, but working from home is a very, very important challenge. Okay, we should accept the fact that it is highly impossible for teachers to teach from home, especially women. There will be like many. In fact, today there was another webinar. We spoke about challenges for women employees in terms of working from home. Why? Because there's always this scarcity of space. Everybody, maximum we have 3-bedroom house. In 3-bedroom house, husband will be working, wife will be working. Even now, 2 children, their classes are online. So how many rooms are available to sit peacefully and do our work? So if that is the case, many times preference is given to men. Okay, so you don't, as women, getting access to private space in a home is difficult. And also, as women, there are challenges in terms of taking care of children. Even online classes, there are research which say that fathers who sit with children for online classes is like only 3%. Mothers are the one who sit with children for online classes. And many of these online classes go for 6 hours for children. Okay. So, 5th standard's child, the online classes will be from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So I was thinking, this teacher who sits in front of camera to teach other school children, she will have children, isn't it? Her children, who will sit and teach, or who will sit and help them in learning? So if they are like 10th standard, 8th standard is fine. But what about parents with young children like 3rd standard children or 5th standard children? Their parents have to sit. So especially for women, it becomes very difficult to work from home if you are a teacher. So how to overcome that? Which is again a major challenge. You need to know how to manage your time. I know it sounds very hypocritical. To say that women should know how to manage time. There are so many things to do. They are used to doing it. But again, unless and until people change in the society in terms of both men and women should do household work, things cannot change. Okay. But again, one important thing we should do is delegate. We should train people in the house to take care of their own, their own work. Let's say how to keep rice in the cooker, or how many whistles the cooker will have to have, switch off the cooker. So these things are small things, but as women, you are supposed to do these things, but you teach people how to do it. And also we should accept working from home, we cannot give our fullest capabilities. There are limitations, For example, in fact, now I'm in my office. When they said you can work from office, first thing we did, my wife is also a teacher. We both thought we come to office. My parents are there to take care of my children, but if we are there at home, it's highly impossible to manage work and family. So we should understand working from home has its own limitations. So to the extent possible, you need to multi-skill, multitask, and we should know how to become future ready, which means many times, like I said, classroom teaching, don't expect to do it online in terms of, face to face. Record it. You record your presentation, send it to students. Whenever it is possible, let them watch it. Give them assignments. You evaluate them later. Maybe once in a week or twice in a week, you can have 1 hour of interaction with students. But again, it needs a lot of organization support. If your institute says, no, you have to, meet students online, you have to sit with them through online media, and classes should happen, online media face to face via Google Meet, it's not possible. Okay. So you should actually, seek organizational support, which means organization should give employees or teachers the right kind of tools, the freedom to design our course, the freedom to conduct our classes. We cannot expect like a typical classroom lecture, you should go to the class on this particular time slot and teach, and you should evaluate this way. Okay. So you should seek organizational support. It's not just you need to change as teachers, you need to make colleges or administrators should also understand the limitations of working from home, and they should also change. Okay. So I'll stop here. I think I've overshot my time. Yeah. So if you have any questions or inputs, I welcome you to talk or ask. I hope I made sense. So you can type in your questions if you have. I think there are some people.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
Anji, sir, I have a question.
Sure.
Anji, sir, how to ensure authenticity regarding online testing and evaluation, where there is a risk of copying from the internet? So how to manage that? What could be done in that direction?
Perfect. In fact, this is the first question you get when you propagate online teaching. See, what is the purpose of exam? Okay, or what is the purpose of evaluation? Typically, the purpose we test is memory. We want students, the idea of closed book exam is testing memory. It's not testing understanding. Understanding is, even with access to information, many people may not understand. Okay. In fact, even before this online teaching, most of my courses I used to have open book exam. I'll tell them, you can bring your material, you can search internet. Only thing you cannot do is you cannot chat with your friends. Okay, it's not a group project. It's a individual exam, but open book online exam. I mean, you can use internet also. So, as teachers, we should understand or shift our evaluation to testing memory to testing understanding. Okay, if it is testing understanding, let them actually in real life. It's not like they are going to make decisions in closed book exam. In real life, all the information will be available for them. But what do they understand from all the information? How they make sense? So this is what we need to test. Okay. So have exams which will test their understanding rather than memory. Then it can be open book, whatever. In fact, what if they consult with experts? Let them consult. In real life also, they should know who to consult. They should know what to ask. Okay. So give them a problem which will test their problem solving capabilities in their discipline. You may ask, is it possible in all the areas? Can we do it in mathematics where they have to remember formula? It is possible. Instead of giving remembering formula kind of a problem, give them a problem where they have to understand the problem rather than remembering. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a brilliant answer.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Somebody has yeah, yes sir.
Yes, sir. So in this crisis of coronavirus, so many webinars have been going on, and many of the webinars organizers do put one limitations to the participant that at least the attendance of 53 minutes is compulsory in order to achieve the e-certificate. So what will be about the students and they will join with our online lectures?
So I didn't get the last thing. What to do with students? Okay. You asked what is the last point?
The organizers of webinars have made it compulsory for the 53 minutes attendance in 1 hour webinar.
Yeah.
So will it be possible for our students to do like so?
No, we should not. So what I would suggest is, if you are making a video or even meeting them on giving online lecture, it should not be more than half an hour. 20 minutes is the ideal time. In fact, NPTEL, I am doing a course, NPTEL course. You would have heard of NPTEL course, isn't it? So NPTEL also they are saying your lecture should not go beyond 30 minutes. Okay? So beyond 30 minutes, students will not sit. So you should not expect them to sit for 50 minutes or not. Okay? Yeah. You should convince the administrators it's not possible. You should convince your principal that I cannot have a class for, instead of 1 hour class, you can have it 20 minutes, 20 minutes.
No, what am I asking like so?
Any other questions? Otherwise, I can read the questions and answer. Okay. There is one question from Dr. Roja Mary. What platform would you recommend for online classes that are flexible, easy to use and free or inexpensive? Google Meet is a good platform, which is also integrated with this Google Classroom. I don't know how many of you have used this application, Google Classroom, where you can, which is integrated again with Calendar, Google Calendar. You can give them assignments. You can have, Google meetings. So Google is a good platform till now because it's free also. The only thing is, like I said, you cannot control or you cannot mute others. You cannot send someone out of the meeting room for those things. Okay. Yeah, people need PPT. I will share that. Okay, how Coursera courses are helpful for students? In fact, Coursera, some courses are free, and there are many foreign universities. They give their material free of cost. Okay, but as teachers, we should know which are those universities. So it takes a lot of preparation as teachers to see what are the material available online free, whether it is useful or not. So you should do a lot of homework. Any other questions? Okay, so if there are no other questions, I will end here. I don't know whether you're able to participate completely like a online, like a face-to-face, FDP, but I hope at least something useful you are able to grasp from my lecture.
Evening, sir. Hello.
Yeah, yes,
Am I audible?
yes.
Sir, actually, we are using Google Classroom for our classes. But for video classes, we are actually using the Zoom platform. Is it okay? What do you suggest, sir? From security point of view?
Zoom, I think you need to pay. You need to. At least you should need institutional license, but I don't know now. Maybe Zoom is free of cost. I don't know. But earlier it used to be.
We are using Zoom in means private IDs, and 100 students we can intake with it,
Okay.
free of cost.
Zoom is a better platform compared to Google Meet because
Currently we understand. But then, whether the security purpose, we have heard a lot of things about it.
yeah, that is one
I
challenge.
just to ask your suggestion about this.
No, Zoom is a good tool, but like you said, one, it may not be free of cost. Two, there might be security concerns.
Yes.
Any other question?
Thank you, sir.
I've typed my email ID in the chat. You feel free to write to me, or if you need any, I can send the PPT. If you want to interact in terms of further collaborations, you can. Okay. Okay, then. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Should I give the? Yeah. Dr. Kokilavani, you would like to say something? You would like to conclude?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So in the preparation, we have given a good useful tips about online teaching, how the teachers should use their module through online. You have given a wonderful session. So now I hand over the mic to Dr. P. Roja Meni, to our coordinator, to give the vote of thanks of the session.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to all. I convey my best wishes to the honorable guest of today's event. Once a great man whispered, feeling thankfulness and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Today, I take the opportunity to put all my gratitude into verse. On behalf of my management and my HOD, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. M.P. Ganesh, for taking his precious time out and consenting to be the chief guest of the session. Sir, indeed, your words have inspired all. Last but not least, I thank you, all the participants, for showing their interest in the program. I once again thank everyone for making this program successful. Thank you.